A wife who can't have kids is worthless. If you don't get pregnant soon, I'll have a child with someone else.
Tired of being blamed and bullied every day for our infertility, I divorced my husband. I had married the only son of a family that runs a historic hotel, only to realize they saw me as nothing more than a tool for producing children. After the divorce, I got pregnant with my new husband. After giving birth, I decided to visit my ex-husband's hotel to execute a certain plan. My name is Zena, and I'm turning 35 this year. I married Tony, who's the same age as me, 3 years ago. We met at the hotel where I worked. His family owns a hotel in a tourist area, and he came to my hotel for a 1-year training program to learn a high level of hospitality. Though he was initially puzzled by the different customer service methods, I found his dedication admirable. He seemed to be impressed with my work ethic as well. We got along well, partly because we were the same age and eventually became a couple after he asked me out. When his training ended and he was about to return to his hometown, he proposed, saying, "I don't want to be apart. Will you come with me?" He had been divorced before, so my parents objected, but we managed to persuade them and got married. His family runs a well-known historic hotel in the area. Currently, his father was the manager, his mother the assistant manager, and his sister a concierge. My husband was in a sort of managerial training position. I thought I would help out at the family hotel after marriage, but his mother told me,
Zena, just be a housewife and give us grandchildren as soon as possible.
Apparently, the issue of who would inherit the hotel was a contentious one. The family was divided into 2 factions, one supporting his sister and the other supporting my husband. His sister already had a daughter in middle school, so her faction had the upper hand. His mother, who favored him, was not pleased.
If Tony has a child, everyone's opinion will change, so have a child as soon as possible,
she would always say to me. But a year passed, and we still didn't have a child. My husband, who initially said,
"We're not getting any younger, so it'd be great to have a child soon,"
started blaming me, saying,
"Hurry up, or my sister will become the heir. Why can't you get pregnant?"
Of course, his mother would also berate me almost daily, saying,
"Why haven't you had a child after a year? What do you think we made you a housewife for?"
I was starting to resent being treated like a tool for my husband to become the heir by both him and his mother. One day, his mother suggested,
"Why don't you go get tested, Zena?"
I had been wondering if either of us had a problem since we hadn't conceived after nearly 2 years of marriage, so I agreed. "I'll check with Tony and we'll go together," I said. She retorted,
"What? You're saying Tony might have a problem? It's your fault we don't have grandchildren."
I was angry at her for assuming the problem was solely mine, but I thought if it turned out I was fine, she would encourage him to get tested too. Reputation seemed to be crucial in the hotel business, as even a small rumor could affect it.
"We can't have rumors that the wife of our hotel's heir is infertile,"
she said. So I had to go to a big hospital in the city. It was quite a distance, so even though I left in the morning, I didn't get back until after 6 o'clock. As soon as I got home, my mother-in-law called. The timing was as if she had been watching me.
"So, Zena, what did the doctor say? Did they find out what's wrong?"
Her tone still suggested that the problem was with me. "No, the doctor said there's no specific cause. They think it might be due to daily fatigue, poor diet, and stress."
"Fatigue? Stress? What are you talking about? You're just lounging around the house all day. Maybe you should change doctors."
I wanted to shout, "Your comments are causing my stress. You're the one who sent me to a far-off hospital because you're worried about rumors." But I held back, knowing she'd just blame me again. I told my husband what the doctor said, but his reaction was the same as his mother's.
"Just get pregnant already."
I wanted him to get checked too, so I said, "I want you to come with me next time."
"Do you think I have that kind of time? And I'm more recognizable than you. Even in the next city over, there's no guarantee I won't run into a client. Do you know how much it would affect the hotel if rumors spread that my wife is infertile? You're really causing trouble.
With that, he stormed off to his room. I continued going to the fertility clinic alone. He never once came with me, and whenever I asked him to get tested, he'd just yell.
There's nothing wrong with me.
Yet he kept blaming me, saying,
Why aren't you pregnant yet? What's the point of going to the hospital?
His mother was the same. Then one day, as I was on my way to the clinic, I saw my husband at a cafe near the clinic. I thought I was mistaken, but it was definitely him. I was about to walk over, happy that he might be willing to go to the clinic with me, when a woman joined him. They held hands and walked off together. I followed them, and they went into a nearby hotel. I was stunned. I couldn't bring myself to go to the clinic that day, and went straight home. The image of my husband with that woman wouldn't leave my mind. In the evening, as usual, my mother-in-law called. I didn't feel like answering, but she kept calling. Finally, I picked up and she yelled,
Why aren't you answering the phone?
Before I could explain, she bombarded me with questions.
How was the hospital? What did the doctor say? Are you pregnant this time?
I didn't feel like answering any of it and just said, I took the day off from the clinic. When I said that, she snapped.
You're infertile and you're not even going to the hospital? You're negligent. Come to our home after 10 o'clock tonight when things have settled down.
The last thing I wanted was to go to her home, especially today. I didn't want to talk to her more than usual. And more than that, I didn't want to see my husband's face. But then I thought this could be an opportunity. I could tell my in-laws what I saw today, ask them to tell my husband to stop cheating, and to be more proactive about fertility treatment. But things didn't go as planned. When I went to my in-laws' place, both parents and my sister-in-law and her husband were there.
Why didn't you go to your appointment, Zena?
On my way to the clinic, I saw Tony with another woman, going into a hotel. I couldn't bring myself to go to the appointment after that. When I answered my mother-in-law's question like that, Tony sneered at me.
Finally caught on, huh? I thought you knew all along.
Come to think of it, he had been going out more often for work events and parties with clients for the past 6 months. While I was lost in thought, my husband continued.
If you don't get pregnant soon, she might beat you to it.
As I was left speechless, it was my mother-in-law who responded.
At this point, I don't care who gives me a grandchild. Good for you, Tony, for finding someone. Show me my grandchild soon.
I couldn't believe it. Not just my mother-in-law, but my husband who agreed, and my father-in-law and sister-in-law's family who said nothing. I want a divorce, I said quietly. Any lingering affection for my husband vanished with his last comment. Instead of trying to stop me, he mocked.
How will an infertile housewife like you survive? No one will take you.
But Tony, that's great. Your infertile wife is leaving on her own. It's a good thing you got caught cheating. My mother-in-law seemed delighted. And so I divorced my husband, Tony. The divorce was bad for the hotel's reputation, so my mother-in-law, who had always told me to hide my infertility, suddenly started talking openly about it. She went around telling people,
It's not good for the hotel to have an infertile wife, so we had her leave.
As if I was entirely to blame, trying to justify Tony's divorce. 2 years after my divorce, I remarried. I had told my current husband that I might be infertile, but he's a very warm person who accepted me. And I got pregnant with our child. I couldn't believe it, and I went to 3 different OBGYNs, but they all confirmed that I was pregnant. I remember celebrating with my husband until morning. We shared our joy, cried, laughed, and then realized we shouldn't be up so late for the baby's sake. During the pregnancy, I took extra care with my diet and exercise to minimize risks due to my age. When our son was born, I was so moved that I forgot all the pain and struggles I had been through. I was grateful to my current husband for giving me the joy of holding a child. Meanwhile, I had been nurturing a plan since my pregnancy. After our son's 6-month checkup, I decided to execute it. Yes, I decided to visit Tony's hotel with my current husband and son. I wondered how many people would remember me in Tony's hometown, but it seemed like more people did than I thought, as some people were glancing at us. When we arrived at the hotel, the assistant manager, my former mother-in-law, greeted us along with the staff. Since my last name had changed after my marriage, no one seemed to realize at the time of booking.
"Welcome, thank you for coming all this way, right this way,"
she said, and the look on her face when she finally looked up and saw me was unforgettable. Her face was a mix of surprise and regret, not a good look for the assistant manager of a historic hotel. Still, she had no choice but to put on a fake smile and instructed the staff to show us to our room. After relaxing in the room for a while, I asked my husband to take our son for a walk for about 2 hours. I told my kind husband that I wanted to have a serious talk with the assistant manager here, as they had helped me in the past. He agreed without hesitation. After they left, I asked the staff to call the assistant manager and Tony, who had been promoted from a trainee manager to the same position as my ex-mother-in-law. About 30 minutes later, the two of them arrived. Tony probably heard about the situation from his mother and was glaring at me as he entered.
"I wanted to thank you for the past."
Thanks to divorcing Tony, I found someone new and even had a son. We're here to enjoy your hotel. As I said this, my former mother-in-law's face twisted more and more.
"You probably didn't give birth to that child. He's from a previous marriage or a relative, right? You don't have to go to such lengths to show off,"
my ex-husband said as if he knew everything. At his words, my former mother-in-law's face brightened for a moment. In response, I placed my son's birth certificate on the table. As you can see from this, he is genuinely my son. Their faces twisted at my words and the certificate. I continued without concern. "I just wanted to let you know that I had a son since both of you were so worried about my infertility. Turns out I'm not infertile," I said sarcastically. My former mother-in-law looked at Tony nervously and muttered,
"Is that so?"
Unable to withstand her gaze, Tony abruptly stood up and left the room. The remaining former mother-in-law also staggered to her feet and mumbled,
"Please enjoy your stay,"
before leaving. It was a completely spiritless appearance, unbecoming of an assistant manager of a historic hotel. I felt satisfied and didn't call them again, but deliberately wandered around the hotel with my husband and son. Some of the staff and guests seemed to remember me and looked at Tony and my former mother-in-law. I was very satisfied. My plan was a huge success. In the hotel business, reputation is everything. Even a small rumor can be a death sentence in this industry. In that area, hotels are packed close together, so one hotel's bad reputation is another hotel's gain. In other words, people eagerly spread bad news about competing hotels. When my ex-mother-in-law found out Tony and I were divorcing, she spread the rumor that I couldn't have kids and that's why we're divorcing to save face. But 2 years later, when I visited the hotel, I had a husband and a son. This made people around us wonder if maybe, just maybe, that rumor wasn't true. And let me tell you, the new rumor spread like wildfire. At the time, Tony was planning to remarry the daughter of a famous hotel owner, and there were talks of a partnership between the hotels. But the rumor reached the ears of that hotel owner, and both the remarriage and partnership deals fell through. Tony's family, who had been renovating parts of the hotel in anticipation of the partnership, now faced financial difficulties. Soon enough, the financial difficulties became another damaging rumor, and their once prestigious hotel was now labeled as a hotel that's only old, with no money or quality to speak of. Most of the staff quit, and even my ex-sister-in-law left her family's failing business to help her husband's company. Now it seems Tony and his parents are struggling to keep the hotel afloat, unable to manage everything. As a result, the number of guests have dwindled, and the business has worsened. Some renovations were abandoned halfway, making the hotel look even shabbier, which led to even fewer guests. Now, if you book in advance, you can pretty much book the entire hotel to yourself. As for me, I'm living happily with my loving husband and adorable son. We're expecting our second child next spring, and I'm enjoying my time as a homemaker, preparing for our new addition. I plan to continue cherishing my wonderful family. As for revenge on my ex's family, I feel somewhat satisfied, but I'm thinking of sending them a greeting card featuring our annual family photo every year.